God's signature is not on the Constitution. Almost a year ago, Alabama's Chief Justice Roy Moore attempted to put an end to the issuance of marriage licenses to gay couples on the basis that the United States Supreme Court had yet to rule on a blanket interpretation on the matter. Even at that time, some of the state were split on the issue, but there seemed to be a general consensus that once the U.S. Supreme Court had clarified its position, local blockage of such licenses must be ended. Which is why the matter should have been brought to a close when the Supreme Court of the United States did just that, ending any confusion that anyone might have about the matter. But neither this landmark decision nor the passage of time would seem to have mellowed Justice Moore's thinking on the subject. He is once again calling on local officials to cease issuing marriage licenses to gay couples. Moore has a long history of controversial stances. In 2003, as Chief Justice, he refused to remove the Ten Commandments from his courthouse, which led to his later removal from office. However, still popular with the Alabama voters, Moore regained his position in 2012. Not all Alabama citizens, and certainly not all members of the judiciary in the state, agree with the man's positions on these matters. Justice Sherry Billings of Alabama's Third Circuit reminded the media representatives of Moore's past statements to the effect that the U.S. Supreme Court must yield to the higher authority of heaven. To further drive home her point, Judge Billings said that she had gone to Washington to examine the original U.S. Constitution and did not find God as a signatory to the document. Keep women away from sex. If religious leaders can frequently be accused of sloppy logic, then the accusation must apply doubly to those who do so on regular TV shows. Maybe the reason is that they're the ones who have a talent for stirring up people's emotions, hitting on hot-button topics, and generally telling people what God thinks about topics never covered by any ancient religious text. Virginia TV preacher Jim Hill, on a show called What Does the Bible Plainly Say?, claims that the good book has very specific views on abortion, gun rights, and loose women. The last of which at least are covered obliquely, but even in that case, some of the loose women in the Bible are depicted in a favorable light in both the Old and New Testaments. Using cliché phrases such as God said Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, and if God lets America get by, then one of these days he'll have to apologize to Sodom and Gomorrah, and finally, without knowing it, tripping over Godwin's law by comparing modern America with Nazi Germany. Hill clearly knows how to rouse some people's mixed up and irrational fears. At one point during the sermon, he declares how much he dislikes America now, only to later on declare that it's the next best place to heaven. What must that say about heaven? It is hoped that the number of people who can be reached by such hyperbole is on the decline, and the fact that shows such as this don't have the same nationwide appeal as they did even 20 years ago may indicate that that is indeed the case. A grand tour. Although a few religions advise their congregants to avoid worldly things such as politics and even discourage them from voting, that is not the norm. Quite the opposite. Many of them not only advise churchgoers to vote, but tell them on how to vote as well. In the U.S., it's frequently done in spite of rules threatening churches that they may lose their tax-exempt status should they not follow the law. Unfazed by this, evangelist Billy Graham's son Franklin is embarking on a 50-state tour to get out the message on the typical hot topics of gun control, abortion, gay marriage, and of course those loose women again. Probably playing it safe, he declared that he has no hope in either the Democratic nor Republican parties. However, one is left to wonder whether he has gone so far as to jeopardize his organization's tax-exempt status.